Hey. I'll come up and see we have
First is Jason.
Mr. Ferguson. Jason
I'm
Ferguson.
up here, sir.
Do you have your own Bible or do you want to
I'm
use
gonna
this
use
one?
that one, yeah.
Do you have anyone who you want to be holding it?
My wife and my daughters.
Well, come on out. Where would you guys, where's the best place to stand? I think we'll do it right about here. Right out here in front.
Or do you want to?
You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jason Ferguson,
I, Jason Ferguson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Once again.
I'm not.
Congratulations. And next we have Richard Gerard. Where are you? Oh, well, who's going to take your picture?
My wife will wait for this.
But you go to your Mary Ann. As you put your left hand onto the Bible, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Richard Gerard,
I, Richard Gerard,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Good job.
Thank you.
And next up, Saida Hawk. And Saida, would you like somebody to hold you? You're doing it?
Yeah.
Your cousin?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to fill it while you hold? Right there. Now place your left hand on that and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Saida Hawk,
I, Saida Haq,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
I'll support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duty
and I'll discharge the duty
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Good job. Next up, Mary Ann.
You popping up here, then?
He goes again. We'll take this. Now you, we'll switch roles. Left hand on it, raise your right hand. I, Mary Ann Gerard,
I, Mary Ann Gerard,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations. Last but definitely not least, Marie Snyder. There's. Marie, up you have. Dottie,
I'm the holder.
you're the holder.
Yeah, Dottie's the holder.
Can you handle it?
Mine's much bigger.
It's not how big the bottle is, it's how you use it.
I know.
Okay. All right, here we go. You ready? Raise your right hand. I, Marie Snyder,
I, Marie Snyder,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations, you did it. And with that,
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Always a pleasure.
I understand Representative Malagari has something to present to the, you want to come up here?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Congratulations. Can everyone hear me okay? Thank you, Madam Mayor. Congratulations to all the newly sworn in council members. Congratulations again. It is such a wonderful experience to be able to see a swearing in ceremony yet again. And it reminds me of the swearing in ceremonies I've participated in Borough Council in Lansdale. So in any case, I want to acknowledge on behalf of all of us here within the district and within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania from the House of Representatives, some certificates of achievement for your newly elected members and sworn in members of council. So I'm in no particular order, but I'm going to start with the mayor. Mayor Mary Ann Gerard, I just wanted to recognize you with the certificate. Please come on up and get a certificate. We'll get a quick photo. And thank you for all that you're doing for the Borough of Hatfield. Thank you so much. Rich, you're next. Come on up. Councilman Gerard, I want to thank you for everything you've done for the Borough of Hatfield and wish you the best of success in your next term.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
One aside, for those of you who don't know it, I've known this guy since he was 2 years old.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Thanks. Appreciate yourself. Thank you.
Absolutely. Jason, you're next. Jason, first off, I want to thank you for all of your work with the Borough Council here in Hatfield, and also thank you for serving as president for the past 4 years.
No, appreciate it. Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Now, I haven't known Steve as long as Rich, but oftentimes people confuse us when we go to election spots. And, you know, I feel like they're insulting him by that compliment, by that statement, but it does happen quite frequently. So
Sometimes it does.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Saida? Sid, I want to congratulate you on your election and new installation as a Borough Council member here in Hatfield. And I wanted to present you a certificate of achievement for that, but also to recognize that you are the first Muslim American to serve the Borough of Hatfield and first Muslim American woman to serve the Borough of Hatfield. And I think that's going to be healthy women. Well, so congratulations on all of it. Absolutely. Thank you. And Marie Snyder, where's Marie? So the job of tax collector is extremely important, and it's one that doesn't always get all the accolades it deserves because not everybody wants to give the tax collector the taxes. However, it does a very important service for the borough and also to the community. So I want to thank you for your expertise, but also your willingness to serve and do this job. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, the 2026 reorganization meeting of Hatfield Borough is called to order. Can I have a roll call?
Councilmember Burrs,
Here.
Councilmember Ferguson,
Here.
Councilmember Gerard,
Here.
Councilmember Hopps,
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss,
Here.
Mayor Gerard,
Here,
Junior Councilperson Shiana DePola,
Here.
Borough Manager Snyder,
Here.
Borough Solicitor Harper.
Here.
and we have everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first order of business will be the nomination and election of council president. Do we have a nomination for Borough Council President?
Rich Gerard.
Second.
Rich Gerard has been nominated. Are there any other nominations?
I recuse myself from the nomination.
Okay, all those in favor of Rich Gerard as council president, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, resolution passes by a vote of 4 with 1 recusal. Congratulations, President Gerard.
Thank you.
Next order of business is the nomination and election of vice president. Do we have a nomination for Borough Council Vice President?
Larry Burns.
Larry Burns has been nominated for vice president. Any other nominations? There are no other nominations.
Jason Ferguson for vice president.
I'm sorry.
I'd like to follow.
Good evening, Jason for vice president from me.
Okay, so we have 1 nomination for Jason Ferguson as vice president. All those in favor of Rich Gerard, I'm sorry, Larry Burns as vice president, say aye. All of those in favor of Jason Ferguson as vice president, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we have 4 to 1, 3 to 2.
Should repeat the votes, so the minutes are accurate.
Okay, that's fine.
Everybody, so which way, one.
That's fine. That's fine.
That would be better to. so the
No,
minutes are accurate.
better to have it. Okay. Could we repeat the vote then? All those in favor of Larry Burns as vice president, say aye.
Aye.
And that is 3 people voting aye.
Get that, Katie?
Yes.
Those in favor of Jason Ferguson as vice president, say aye.
Aye.
There are 2 votes in favor of Jason Ferguson. The 3 votes for Vice President Larry Burns carries the motion. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor Gerard, and I'd like to say,
We have the vacancy board.
Yeah.
There's 1 more. Okay, the last on the nomination agenda is the appointment of the vacancy board chairman. Do we have a nomination for vacancy board chair?
nominate John Presser. Second.
John Kresher has been nominated for the appointment of vacancy board chair. Are there any other nominations? We will close the nominations. All those in favor of John Kresher as vacancy board chair, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries for John Kresher as vacancy board chair. I will now turn the meeting over to President Gerard
Thank you very much.
and the gavel.
And again, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for their support, and hopefully I will do the best possible job that I can for both the borough and all the citizens. And feel free at any time to, stop me on the street or whatever, ask me questions. So now I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda of the January 5th, 2026 workshop meeting. Motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Burns, seconded by Councilperson Weiss. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Item 2, do we have any public input? And if we do, if someone would like to step up to the podium and please state your name and address. Okay, thank you. Item 3, announcements.
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
Next council meeting, the regular meeting, January 21st at 7 p.m. in council chambers. The planning commission is scheduled to meet Monday, January 26th at 6 p.m. in council chambers. And the Hatfield Museum Historical Society is scheduled to meet Tuesday, January 27th at 7 p.m. in council chambers.
Thank you. Item 4, action items. Do we have a motion to appoint Timothy Knox LLP as attorneys at law as the borough solicitor for general legal services? Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Motion to appoint Salzman Hughes, attorneys at law, as the special utility counsel.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman, yes, Ferguson, and seconded by Councilman Weiss. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, that motion is passed. We need a motion to appoint DeShell, Bartle, and Dooley, attorneys at law, as the Borough Zoning Hearing Board solicitor.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilperson Weiss and seconded by Councilperson Burns. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to appoint Bursish Associates Incorporated, a division of the Van Cleef Engineering Associates, as the borough engineer for general engineering services.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Weiss, seconded by Councilperson Burns. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Need a motion to appoint Bowman as the borough traffic engineer for general traffic services.
Motion.
Second.
Do I have a motion from Councilperson Burns, seconded by Councilperson Weiss? And do we have, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion to appoint utility engineers as the borough engineer for the electric utility services.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Wise, seconded by Councilperson Burns. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. And I need a motion to appoint Code Inspection Incorporated to administer zoning, code, and fire safety enforcement and services.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Ferguson, seconded by Councilperson Weiss. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to appoint Daniel Azef from Code Inspection Incorporated as the Fire Marshal and Emergency Management Coordinator.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Ferguson, seconded by Councilperson Burns. All those in favor? A motion to appoint Ryan Giotto from Code Inspection Incorporated as the Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Burns, a second from Councilperson Weiss. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to appoint Jamie E. Snyder as Hatfield Borough Manager, Secretary, and approve Jamie E. Snyder's employment agreement with the Borough of Hatfield.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion by, yes, a motion by Councilperson Weiss, seconded by Councilperson Burns. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And we need a motion to appoint John Cresser as the Planning Commission for a 4-year term expiring December 31st, 2029.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Burns, seconded by Councilperson Weiss. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right, motion passes. I need a motion to appoint John Pedrazania and Paul Mullen to the Zoning Hearing Board for a 4-year term expiring December 31st, 2029.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Burns, seconded by Councilperson Weiss. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to appoint Denise Baker to the Pool Advisory Board for a 4-year term expiring December 31st, 2029.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Weiss, seconded by Councilperson Burns. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to appoint Joe Amorosi to the Hatfield Economic Revitalization Outreach Committee for a 3-year term expiring December 31st of 2028.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, I have it by, yeah. I have a motion made by Councilperson Weiss, seconded by Councilperson Ferguson. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Reports and correspondence, item 5.
So, due to the reorganization being at the beginning of the year, all reports and correspondence will be pushed to the January 21st, regular meeting.
Andrew, I have a question. The last meeting, we were a couple months behind on the reporting. Are we gonna get caught up by the next meeting?
For the, like, financials, that I
Financials,
mean,
yeah.
I will talk to Diane. She normally runs a month behind, just like the statements that I got today are for, like November, like end of November, right? Or sorry, I'll get them the second week of January or December. So she normally runs a month behind, but I'll make sure you at least have the November ones. I think last meeting you had October. And she was off for the last 2 weeks of the year.
Okay.
So I know that's why I also gave her a couple, I was like, no reports will be due at the beginning, don't stress about it, but I'll have a discussion with her. We have an executive meeting tomorrow morning at 10.
Okay.
All staff does, so that will be an item I'll add to my.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, managers report, general report, and project updates.
I was writing a note, so I'm getting back.
Yep.
So my report was included in your packets. Nothing really new or exciting as we're at the beginning of the year. I did try to update and clean up some land development that we've closed out, or projects that we've closed out. I added a 2026 project updates, as we'll be doing a curb and ADA ramp project in 2026. So there's nothing really new to report at this time for my report.
Thank you. Okay, old business, 2025 committee reports. I don't know if there have been any meetings for any of the committees since our last formal meeting here.
I would like to just say something very quickly. On December 31st, the DEP approved the 904 grant for the Recycling Commission for the year 2023. The amount of the grant was $262,902. Hatfield Borough's share of that was approximately $4,722. Thank you.
Yeah. I have to just bear with me for a minute here. All right, and also as the committee, the Borough Council, various committees for 2026, I am appointing on the Budget, Finance, and Labor Committee as the chair myself, and Larry Burns as co-chair. The Planning, Building, and Zoning Committee, the chair would be Larry Burns, and co-chair would be Michelle Weiss. The Public Service Committee would be chaired by Michelle Weiss, with Larry co-chaired by Saida Hoke and the Mayor, Marianne Gerard. Public Works and Property and Equipment, the chair for would be Saida Hoke and co-chair Jason Ferguson. The Utilities Committee would be the chair of Jason Ferguson and myself, Richard Gerard, as the co-chair. And the Hatfield Economic Revitalization Outreach Committee, chair is myself, Saida Hoke as a co-chair, and the mayor, Marianne Gerard, as a member. Item B of new business, Heckler Property Estate Road Opening Request. Okay.
Yeah, I'll just give a highlight of what, so the Heckler Estate has submitted a road opening permit application for West School Street. West School Street currently has a 5-year moratorium on the road as it was paved in 2024. The estate has included a request for relief of the moratorium under ordinance 21-110 of the Hatfield Borough Code of Ordinances. A memorandum was included from the applicant outlining the request and a suggested posted escrow amount. This evening, we have Jeffrey Landis, the attorney for the estate, and Jeffrey Wirt, the engineer for the estate. They'll be going over their application and they'll be able to answer any questions for you.
Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome.
President Gerard, and thank you, members of Borough Council, for giving us the time tonight. So if you have a question, just say Jeff, and one of us will answer it one way or another. I'm Jeff Landis. I'm an attorney in Souderton, and have the privilege to be working with Russell Heckler, who's the executor of the estate of Howard Heckler. And many of you know Howard or have known him as a lifelong resident of Hatfield. He served as mayor here from 1998 to 2004 and passed away in December of 2024. In working with Russell Heckler, we've been having the opportunity to liquidate various assets to fund some charitable gifts and personal gifts under his will. And now we're dealing with 2 vacant lots that were next to his house. His house was recently sold to persons who will know and love it and use it for their residence. These 2 lots, if remain affected by the ordinance, would be unusable for 3.5 years more. So we're here to explore the possibility of you giving us approval for relief of ordinance 21-110. That ordinance does provide for relief from the 5-year moratorium for emergency circumstances, and also explicitly mentioned in the ordinance gives relief upon approval of Borough Council after application made. So we've submitted to you an application, and we presented in that application when we filed it in November, some detail, as well as volunteering certain conditions, which we are open to, very reasonable conditions, whatever the Borough Council finds is necessary to maintain the quality of the road, to maintain it in a manner that would have any intrusion to it be as little noticeable as possible, And that would include repaving a broad expanse, not just repaving a trench, but a broad expanse so it would tie in with the rest of the road, doing it at the borough's specifications. Also establishing an escrow from any sale of the lots so that ultimately that would be there to pay for that. And also committing to having the trenching to the utilities done for both lots at the same time. So there'd be only one intrusion to the road. Jeff Wirt, professional engineer from Metz Engineers, is here to address questions that might be of your mind. And also we are aware that Bursich has also given review of this. So Jeff can talk about the review that your engineers have submitted to the council. At this point, I'll let Jeff make any further comments, and then either of us stand ready for any questions that you might have. It would be our hope that perhaps you'd work, your engineer would work with our engineer and Jamie to appropriately develop conditions that would be mutually agreeable, and that we could present this question again to you at the next Borough Council meeting with those conditions specified, and then seek your approval of that application for relief.
Thank you. Jeff Work, Metz Engineers in Lansdale. I've been with you guys, before you guys, quite a few times over the years. If I could first hand something out to you, help explain what's happening. This is a 11 by 17. I highlighted the area of West School in question.
Thank you.
Tend to be a visual person, so I will be stepping over to the screen from time to time. The area in question is basically the frontage of the two lots, which is about 160 feet. From this property line over past the stop bar. And what we would propose is to do all the utility trenches for both lots. We think it's likely that both lots get sold to one builder, and we would put the utilities in locations that that builder would prefer or use. When we're doing laterals for water or sanitary sewer, you can put them in advance, which I understand is often tried. But the problem is when the house is actually built, they sometimes get flipped, and now you have a lateral that's crossing or kind of all crazy configurations, which are for sanitary sewer laterals. It's not a good thing. I mean, direct to the street is always the best way to go. Same thing with water. I also did have the opportunity to reach out, talk to both the municipal authority and the water authority. And typically they don't put services in until you're actually ready to build a house, partially for that reason and partially for the reason that they long-term often will leak. And this was a common practice back in the 70s when I started up until about maybe 20 years ago, and it really dropped away. So what we would propose is to put the water services in, sanitary sewer services in, the depressions in. Obviously, the builder would have a footprint and a building permit plan, so we know where things are going. Get all that work done. And one of the biggest problems you have with trench settlements, frankly, is the backfill. It's always an issue. We'd love to say we can compact as well as Mother Nature, but we don't. So what I would propose is something a little unique, and I haven't talked to Chad about it, but what I've used successfully in other municipalities is what we call flowable fill, which is a lighter weight concrete without the large aggregate, less strength, but it gets poured in. It does a great job of filling all the nooks and the crannies. And once that goes in, it's set up within 3 to 4 hours. We pave over it and you're done. So instead of putting in lifts of stone mechanically with a tamper where the engineer is going to have somebody watching, and frankly, Mother Nature will still settle some. We would use flowable fill on the trenches, and this way they're done. I've had great experience. I brought a photo if you want to see it. I did one in 2001 in Upper Dublin Township. The trench was 12 feet deep and 20 feet wide with two 48-inch storm sewer pipes. It's not settled. It doesn't go anywhere. So it's a little bit unique approach. As far as the balance of Chad's letter, we have no problem agreeing to the conditions. Our thought is that we would repave that section when all the work is done. After the flowable fill is in, we'd put temporary paving. The houses get built. When everything's finished, the curb presses, all that's done, then come in, mill curb to curb from one end to the other end. And the outside of it would be in the yellow, but if we only need to do maybe 100 feet, we'd do 100 feet. I think there's an area there. We've agreed that we repaint the stop bar and the crosswalks as they are. So I think it's a good way to accomplish being allowed to get the lots and the transferables and the ratables, which is a benefit to the borough and a good way to have more residents. I sat with Howard many times as we went through the process. We were here for the subdivision, and while he was alive, he really didn't intend to sell them. Obviously, we're in a different position here. That said, be glad to answer any questions. The actual ordinance you use, I think, came over from Hatfield Township about 25 years ago. Jamie's smiling. I was township engineer in Hatfield Township when we wrote that ordinance because we had this same frustration with trenches. PennDOT has the same issue, and PennDOT has gone to this type of application where they'll let you install trenches, but then they mill and pave a section of road. The other thing we can do that helps make it easier, a couple things. One, since it's not just trench, and you get that bump, 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 bump. It's one smooth transition. So that eliminates a lot of the issues. The second thing is we can do what they call a taper. If you see on some of the highways, instead of straight across, it's a 6-to-1. So it's a little bit more gentle. Your car might be a little bit like that, but it's not that all two wheels then rear wheels hitting. So we can do that too. And I think all these things make for a nice transition. We would engage a firm that does road work, not a driveway guy, nothing intended with a comment, but you want somebody that's familiar with wider roads, that has the equipment for wider roads and familiar with this kind of work. And of course, your engineer would be watching it to make sure everything's smooth.
I have a question about the flowable fill.
Yes.
You said you used it was it 2001? Was that?
Yeah.
Have you used it since then?
Many times.
Is that widely used throughout the area? And it's proven to be.
It's a PennDOT spec. Now they call it some CLSM now, which is, be honest with you, I forget the term, but in the generic industry, you go talk to the contractor. We call it flowable fill. It's about 800 PSI. It's basically a lightweight cement, not lightweight in terms of weight, but it doesn't have the larger aggregate. It's poured in, it goes in a little soupy, 3-4 hours it's done. You put the paving on, you're good to go. So we would do the trenches, fill them flowable, they dry, we pave, and then all the construction gets done. And then 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year later, come back in, mill everything out to the right depth, and then repave. And let me hand these out. This is in Upper Dublin Township on Highland Avenue, just down from the high school and the police building. If you look in the background, you'll see a pair of inlets. We crossed this road with 2 48-inch storm sewer pipes in 2001, 2002, somewhere around there. And this had 2 4s of flowable fill, about 12 feet deep. I'll back to the microphone. And the road's been repaved once or twice. Been no settlement. I use it elsewhere. It's actually pretty common. I like using it because when you're filling up the trenches, you can compact. But if you think about trenches with vertical walls and you have a compactor pushing down, you really don't get the sideways tamping, even if you do it in lifts. This fills every nook and cranny, so it works well.
I have a question concerning road access during this construction, because that street basically is a dead end area. I live behind there and it just sort of circles around. There's no exit out to another street through there. How are you going to handle like delivery trucks, various other traffic that would come through during that time when you're doing the construction work in the street?
Yeah, typically when we have a crossing like this, what we do is we do half and half. So we'll keep one lane opening will have flaggers. They'll do one half the crossing, or in this case, you're only going to be halfway in for the water services. You get half done, you put a plate down or a temporary stone down, then you open the other half. So it would not be closed because we recognize emergency traffic because of the dead end. I'm quite familiar with the whole not connecting years ago with Hatfield Township. So that's how we handle that. That way you don't have any emergency service issues.
Sorry, Vice President Burns, go ahead.
So just a couple of questions. You said that you'd worked with Howard for a lot of years, and he didn't have any intention on selling these lots. Why did he subdivide it then?
The process, and I choose my words carefully because I was a township engineer for 28 years next door and a number double. But the process does not get easier. The codes do not get simpler. The timing, the fees, all of those things do add up and change with time. And the thought was Howard said, you know, it's sooner or later, it's going to happen. Let's just get it done, record the deeds, split them. And that way, when the time comes, the time comes. And that was essentially the discussion with Howard at the time.
And at that time, this isn't new. So why didn't he just do it then? Because the road, you know, was already in bad shape. It's been in bad shape. I've lived there for 19 years on that road.
Do it meaning
Put the laterals in.
because neither the sewer, the water services, they really don't like to do that. I mean, North Bend flat out said, we don't do that anymore. So if we would approach them, the answer would have been likely, no, we'll do it whenever you go to build a house. And I understand because I sat in your shoes in Hatfield Township with this same thing, where we came up with the overlay, and PennDOT does this.
Yeah.
Come up with an overlay of a section.
Well, and now, you know, we just paved this. So
I know, I
now
understand.
now it's a really nice street, and all the people that live up there, and we have neighbors on that street that wanted to do this, to open the street. And they were told, you better do it now, because if you don't, you're gonna have to wait 5 years. These people don't have the money that the estate has, that they could just do this. So they didn't have that. They had to take money out of their savings, and all they wanted to do was extend the apron on the driveway. So they had to go ahead and do it, which was a hardship on the family.
We can actually put in driveway depresses without even touching the road. We can
Well,
fold it back and pour a new curb, face form. So we have technologies to do that now.
in this case, they were told that they could, so, or that they wouldn't.
That
But,
can be avoided.
but they were told that, you know, that they
Understand.
couldn't. And that's just one example. There's a lot of examples of folks who, because they don't have those resources, they can't do something like this, you know? And I don't think it's fair to them because they live on that street. And to sell this, the estate's gonna take the money and go their merry way. And the people that are gonna live there, they don't care, you know? That's, you know, that's why I'm just curious why all of a sudden now we can't wait 3 years. Like you said, 3.5 years. And the lots could be sold because a house doesn't go up like that, you know? So it's not really that they'd have to wait 3.5 years. They may have to wait a year or maybe a little more. And then a developer buys that and then puts in houses and then sells them. But that takes time too, you know? I don't think it's a
I
great
understand
idea.
your
Yeah, I
position.
just don't think it's a great idea. You know, a lot of complaints, all of us have gotten complaints from people that live on that street whenever it was so bad, you know, between Wayne Avenue and that, you know, nightmare. So that's just my opinion. So thank you.
Jeff, so a couple questions for you. If there's any kind of issue with that, who would ultimately take responsibility? Is that going to be the estate or is that going to be the builder?
The proposition would be to establish an escrow that would satisfy the Borough Council so that any costs associated with the completion of that project is more than covered. So whatever the reasonable escrow that would be established as a condition, it would be satisfactory to the estate.
And then the escrow would last for what, like 2 years past the work or some
Well-
timeline like that? Or what's the timing for there?
Again, we haven't gotten into the exact details of what those conditions would be. That's why my proposition would be to let the engineers talk with the borough and formulate conditions. And bring them back to us. We'll be very open-minded. And in that situation, move forward.
That was actually addressed by Chad in terms of a maintenance bond, which we have no problem with.
Okay. Okay.
So,
And that's typical for just about any land development you do also.
okay, so my question is, on the escrow, would that cover, like, let's say, 2 years down the road, that something happens with that street where maybe something wasn't quite done properly underneath and it starts buckling or something like that? That escrow would cover to have that section redone again if necessary?
The estate is open to conditions. We recognize that this ordinance was drawn with possibility of Borough Council giving approval to this application, and it would be reasonable for Borough Council to insist on conditions. So that's where we'd like the engineers to work with you all, find the conditions that are mutually satisfactory, and let us work with those.
To that point, oftentimes we'll add a contingency, as you do with all your land development agreements, and I don't think that's an unreasonable request.
Yeah, at this point, we've never granted this as Borough Council.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, we just recently took a resident to court for opening the road. They opened the road and the court upheld it and they had to pay.
Well, we're working with your ordinance, and your ordinance provides 2 exceptions to the 5-year moratorium. One would be for emergency determined by council, and also by this action that we're taking now.
Correct.
We're trying to do it by the book, according to how the law would be. And I understand your concerns about the road. It is a nice road. There's no doubt
It's
about it.
brand new.
Yeah.
So I didn't know Howard like you all knew Howard. I know Russell, and from working with the family, that he wanted to live in his house with things unchanged until the day he died. And that's one of the main motivations for not working to sell those lots when the road was being paved. And then in this situation, we are in front of you now, recognizing that if we have no flexibility, we have unusable lots for 3.5 years. To address the issue about selling those lots, in first overture through Realtor Reeves Miller, he took some of this to a potential builder who then alerted us to the ordinance and said, no, thanks, I'm not interested anymore because of this ordinance. So we realized we had to work through the ordinance issue first because it's not an attractive investment to any buyer at this point.
Howard was a pretty smart guy. So I would think that he knew that, and
There were some things he wanted to leave to
Right.
his executor to work out.
okay.
Do we have any other comments?
Yeah, I got a couple more, sorry. Are you in talks with the current builder, so they're in line with what you're going to do in that area? Or is that still an open question?
It's an open question.
Okay.
So, until we would market the lots, those builders wouldn't be identified until then.
Okay.
But when they are, the conditions of the project will be made known to them. And to the extent the conditions are ours to satisfy the estate will satisfy it, and the builders will build.
Okay. So there's no unique construction or anything else that's needed, so.
We're not anticipating anything unique.
Right.
Anticipate any zoning irregularities at all. In fact, you'll notice that there is a driveway here that is serviced by the neighbor. We engaged with the neighbor to have an easement put in place that the estate volunteered to the neighbor for no cost, just to make sure that for posterity, that's appropriately demarcated there. So we're doing our best to do it right.
And then the last question I have, do we have an estimated timing for this? Because that's a major road for the school that's right there. So I think if there's a preference or timing works, the thought would be is let's do it during the summer when you don't have parents dropping off their kids. So parents drop off their kids on the backside of the school.
They're not supposed to. I'm
Well,
serious.
They do it
I'm
anyway.
I'm not disputing that, but I'm saying that there's a line of cars and a whole bunch of kids that walk into that area, parents.
Amen.
Not saying it's right or wrong, but it's the
It's
reality. so-
absolutely wrong.
Right, but
Absolutely, because they're supposed, look, that's my hot button there.
I can tell, Council
Yeah.
Vice President Lawrence.
We can-
No, but that's the thought, even though it's not allowed, we
Yeah.
know it happens, so if we do it during school, it's gonna potentially create some issues. So,
Couple things.
Parents?
parents and kids, yeah.
The timing of the paving really has to occur before about October anyway, because we run out of weather. So, to time it to be during that 6, 8, 10 week period, that's pretty difficult. We just don't know the timing. But I think the fact is, as described earlier, we do 2/2 of the street. At the worst, you have traffic control, and it's not like fortunately like Cow Path or 40 foot or any of the other major roads where you have a lot of traffic. We'd be able to get people in and out, even if they are dropping kids where they don't belong. And
Thank you. Thank you.
and I won't mention that to my wife in transportation. And I think the fact that we can do the trenches half and half, it's safe. We're very careful. The contractors are careful. And of course, Chad has people watching all this as it's happening.
Yeah, I just think from a convenience standpoint, if it's feasible to do it during summer, that would be optimal, so.
It
I
is.
know it may not be a requirement, you're not gonna guarantee that, I'm not asking for that, but, just to highlight that as,
It is. We actually, when we're repaving, I do a lot of repaving work. We work around these constraints all the time. And the typical delay could be 5 minutes. That's it.
Can I make one other additional observation and comment? That road, which is right now pristine, will still be nearly pristine 3.5 years from now.
See, that was the key word.
Yeah.
Nearly.
Yeah,
Right now,
Right.
it is pristine.
it is pristine.
It will be nearly.
I'd say in 3.5 years, it's not going to wear out. It'll still be as good as.
Paid a lot of money for that.
But you have
pristine
that-
road.
The Borough Council has the opportunity to exact conditions upon us now, as opposed to 3.5 years from now, where there'd be less conditions that you could impose. So we're willing to work with the borough. We're looking for that flexibility so that that aspect of settling the estate can be done.
Well, here's another thing too to consider. Okay, knowing the housing market the way it is now, you may not even get a builder in there for 3 years because they're gonna, if they are aware of the situation with the moratorium on digging up the street to put in the utility lines or whatever else needs to be put in. If I was a builder, I would say, why don't we just wait for 3 years, 3.5 years before we put a bid in on this property? And we get to that point within when we extend it out to the 5 years where then they could tear up the street without the extra cost involved. So to my mind, you may even have difficulty getting somebody to take those properties and do the work until that point.
The initial expressions of interest were strong until they recognized this, and then they basically are looking to the estate to cover the costs associated with the conditions that might come.
Do they all know about the potential right behind them of construction?
I'm sorry,
Do they all know about the potential for construction behind them?
I don't know what they know. I wasn't involved with.
I mean, that may,
negotiations.
what Rich just said, that could have bearing on that too. Yeah.
Because to me, if I was a developer, I wouldn't want to put out that extra expense. Considering the way the current market is, I would just sit on it and wait. And then get towards the end, then go in and put a bid on and do the work at that time.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying that at this point in time, we're trying to settle this
Right.
decedent's estate, and Howard's estate has complexity to it, and these lots to have them distributed to the residuary heirs, it's just not going to work. We are looking to sell them, and the buyers that had expressed interest lost interest when they realized that this ordinance was what it was.
There are people out there, and I spoke to one, who had asked about those lots. And I told them, well, you gotta be careful with that because they don't have the sewer and water. You may have to wait 5 years. And their response was, well, that's okay. I'd leave it sit for 5 years. So there are people that would do that, And it's kind of supports what you said earlier too. If you buy it now, it's cheaper than if you buy it 3 years from now. you know, for the builder, because the prices naturally go up. So, I mean, it's an investment, right? And that's what builders do, so.
Yeah, well, it's not for me to judge which.
Yeah,
builders
no.
Make what decision.
I'm just
We're here.
trying to
presenting
give
an
you
application on behalf of our state.
Yeah.
Seeking the relief that the ordinance allows us to seek, and we ask for your consideration of it. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming
Thank
in
you.
this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
May I ask you, would it be acceptable that we just continue a dialogue through Jamie and Kate?
Yes, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say if council has any conditions that are not included in Chad's letter, as the estate said that they would, seem like that Chad's conditions were all okay, you would comply with them. If there were any additional conditions, maybe I were to pick like timing, or, I think Chad says 1 year maintenance bond at 15%, and council wanted 18 months or 2 years, like, please let me know. I'll work with Chad. And then, we can work with, Jeff and also Jeff from the estate. And then, you can kind of put something together. I know Pharrell is writing stuff down and getting Kate kind of puts an outline and just continue the conversation. And then we'll see what conditions come of that outside of Chad.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, item C, the PennDOT Master Casting Agreement.
So I will do a brief outline of the PennDOT Master Casting Agreement, as Public Works Director Steve Biggert was unable to attend this evening.
Okay.
So, PennDOT owns several roads in Hatfield Borough. They do paving in Hatfield Borough. When they come in and do paving in the borough, a lot of times the manhole castings on their roads, it's the borough's responsibility to replace those. So they will come and say, hey, do you have a casting this size or this size? And we can see if we have it in stock. If we don't, we work with HCMA. But it ultimately is our responsibility. They try to give us, you know, as much heads up as possible. Sometimes there isn't. So basically, this agreement is an agreement multiple municipalities have with PennDOT across the state of Pennsylvania. They come in, the castings would be included in their paving work, and then we would be billed outside of that. It would just be like PennDOT will cover it, they continue on, they do their project, and then we would pay for it in the long run, but we also could get a cheaper price, because PennDOT orders all of their materials in bulk. So, you know, whatever they paid for it, they would pass on to us, and they would take care of that. The Public Works wouldn't have to go out and put the castings in, we wouldn't have to pay for flaggers, anything like that kind of is included in this agreement. It just came up because PennDOT was updating their contact information and wanted ours, and was like, hey, we're doing this paving work, and this agreement came up, and Steve and I was like, I don't think we're part of that. And he said, no, I don't think we are either. So we started looking into it, and it was just something that they offer. So, if you have other specific questions, we can talk about it again at the next meeting and not vote on it at the next meeting if you want to ask him more specific questions. That's the general, lay of what the casting agreement is and what it would cover. We would just, you know, have myself as the signer and agree to be part of that agreement.
Steve, happy with it?
Yeah, he did the research, and I said, hey, at the end of the day, it comes down to cost and it comes down to convenience. The first day is cost, second is convenience. And he said that, he was happy with both. Just comparing, we had an issue on, when they paved Penn Avenue, maybe a few years ago, and coming out for the casting sizes, we had to get something from HCMA, and then we had to stop it. It kind of just, it didn't go as smoothly as, hey, it's just a PennDOT job, and we'll end up seeing a bill. But it's outlined, like, they can't charge us something that's not part of the agreement, it'll be the cost of part of the agreement and everything. So he was fine with it, he's the one that's been the contact and been talking about the agreement, he's asked other municipalities from Public Works, like Directors Associations, are they in it? Yeah, they don't have any issues with it. It seems kind of just standard, it's just something we were not a part of.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, in terms of material saving, whether it be the castings or whatever that they needed, any idea, like, would it be a difference of 10%, 15%? Is there any idea over us going out and buying that ourselves?
I personally don't know that answer. Steve does, because I asked him to run the numbers. I said, can you tell me, are we gonna have a cost savings for cost saving convenience? And he said, yes. Just based off of Penn Avenue, which was something that we did recently. That's the only thing we could compare it to, and I wanna say, not the issues we had with Penn Avenue, but the convenience of, we had to go out there, replace the castings, we didn't have them, we had to borrow one from HTMA, and then we order it, and whatever we buy it for, then we just give it back to HTMA, so that's kind of how the agreement is. Yeah, but I can certainly ask him, to let you know the exact, hey, from that, we saved X amount of dollars, or, hey, on that one, we really didn't, it was more about convenience.
Well, I think we, personally, I think we ought to, explore it further, especially if you're gonna have considerable cost savings on future road work like that. So I'd say go ahead with it.
Okay.
Well, here's my question. So years ago, Steve in Public Works took over a lot of that work because it was less expensive versus having an outside contractor do that. How does that relate to what we're proposing now? Is this because it's a state road and we can't do that work anyway, which is why we're proposing it? Because it seems as if an outside contractor is going to do it, the costs are going to go up compared to the cost we were spending to do. Does my question make sense?
Yes, so I know that there was just different regulations on a state road, so I'm not sure if when we were talking about it, we talked about like, doing something on Main Street and like us having to provide the castings and, us having to provide flagging for that, or those ancillary costs that come with just the castings. And we have been going out and doing borough roads and providing them and kind of something, because it's cheaper for us than have whatever contractor we get the paving to them, because it just saved us money. Same with like, the manhole covers, inlets, those type of things. So, it was just something that he brought up. I think it deals with not only the price specifically of the casting, but everything that goes along with it, like the labor to put it in, yes, the cost, yes, to put it in. Do we have to have flagging because it's a state road? The regulations are just different than, hey, us doing and replacing manholes on South Main, just for example, versus us placing manholes on, West School Street. Like just the idea of flagging, us doing it in-house versus having like a flagger force or something like that. If PennDOT did it, which is kind of, they come in, the project's a PennDOT project, and if we have to pay for castings, it's, X per our agreement.
So then really the difference we're only talking about is the cost for us purchasing castings versus PennDOT purchasing castings for us.
That and the work associated with it, like if we are doing the castings and we're purchase them, we would have to, and we have to install them, and it was on Main Street, we would have to have a flagger for us out there, we would have to pay for flag.
No, I got it. But
Yeah.
now what you're proposing with this is that now it's gonna go back to an outside contractor versus the cost of us doing it internally. So,
Only on the state roads, so it's only South Main Street, West Broad Street, East Broad Street, North Market and Penn Avenue. And I will be honest, Penn Avenue was just paved, East Broad Street, we replaced the castings, most of them, when we did the utility replacement project. West Broad Street, we replaced all the castings when we did the utility replacement project. South Main, my personal opinion, should be sooner rather than later of paving, but I know it's not even listed on their, I don't want to say their 5-year plan, but I don't know that it's even on their 5-year plan for paving South Main. So that's really the only one we're kind of talking about. It was just something that came up and he was like, hey, council wants to consider it, great. I don't know that you will have to ask him because it's his department. He is like, I'm gonna die on the sword with this casting agreement, Like, I think it's something that maybe he should answer the more questions of like, how does it certainly impact his department? I'm only talking from like a 300-foot level because I don't work in that department. I'm trying to think of when we were on Penn Avenue, the issue that we ran into. And I don't want to say it was an issue. It was just more of a inconvenience. We were, timing. We were kind of told, hey, you have to replace these castings, and we didn't have any that fit in-house. So of course we got one from HTMA, and then whatever the cost was to purchase it that day is what we had to purchase it from our provider to pay HTMA back. So I really think, in all honesty, it's more about the timing and convenience versus the actual like cost savings. I don't think you're saving hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars on this agreement.
Although you think PennDOT would get a better price than
Yeah, I think
They're usually
volume, because of volume.
well, that's why I was asking the question about the casing
Yeah.
versus the cost of all the installation. Because that's why I was looking for clarification. So if we're talking about the casing cost, yeah, there's probably a cost savings. If we're talking about us paying an outside contractor to do it, the question I think to President Gerard's, when we think about the cost savings, we should compare the cost of us doing it versus the cost of this outside contractor doing it for the cost determination if there's a cost saving.
Yeah, I think the
So-
savings comes with the casting because they purchase things in bulk versus more than us. I also think there's probably some type of savings. I wouldn't know if I didn't do the numbers. I don't have them in front of me. I wouldn't know if it was cheaper for us to do it or if it's cheaper for them to do it, who already mobilized and have a flagging force and, you know, have that as part of them and they're just going down and finishing. Or is it, you know, cheaper for us to do it in-house, hire flaggers and do that? I would say it might be more of a cost, closer cost, only on a state road because that's like a flagger force. That's not a lot of times public works that does it because it's just the high traffic of the state road.
Can you let Steve know what our questions were?
Yes, absolutely.
Because then at the next meeting, we can.
Yeah,
He'll.
yeah, it doesn't have to be voted on.
Yeah,
You
I-
can just say, here's what the cost savings are.
I think this is something that needs to be,
He was gonna talk tonight, but
that
unfortunately,
closer
he's not.
down the road,
Yeah. No
so
problem.
to speak.
So he has all the numbers.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he just wasn't here today.
All right. So, yeah, let's
Can
just,
we call him?
I mean, I talked to him, I felt bad. I mean, I talked to him two or three times today. And I felt bad. He was not sorry.
so we can pursue this in the future and take a closer look
Yeah,
at it.
she on a whole business discussion
Right.
item on January 21st. You don't have to talk, you know, just,
Okay.
I'll tell him to make sure that he gets the numbers difference and specifically looking at the casting costs,
All right.
right? Is that right?
Well, it's the cost if we do it versus if PennDOT does it. So the
Right.
casting is a piece of that, but
Yeah.
it's really an apples to apples comparison to say if we're going to do it or we're gonna ask someone else to do it. What is that cost compared?
Like if their company, Joe Schmo was doing it and paving it, it costs X, but if Public Works did it, it costs Y.
Right, because we're gonna have to pay, if we ask someone else to do it, we're gonna have to pay that cost. Even though PennDOT's managing it, we're still gonna have to pay a cost for someone else to come in and do it, correct?
That's part of their project, so we would just be paying as my understanding, the casting costs, like the project, when PennDOT comes in and paves a state road, Hatfield Borough doesn't pay for that paving, I don't pay for that company, I don't pay any of that money, that's PennDOT, they're paving the state road, I don't pay for any of that, it's their road, I don't pay that contractor, I don't pay anything.
But it's just the castings are
Correct,
what
yeah.
we have to
Yeah,
provide.
so we would go out and do it. We have an agreement with them? Is there some type of, yeah, there's an agreement and my contractor is making prevailing wage on this project and they're doing the castings and they're provided and we're just going down the road and doing it? Possibly, right? Because we know when it's a project like that, those things are going out to bid, we're doing that, if we're doing that in-house, that's different.
We'll wait for Steve.
Yeah.
That's not fair to you.
All right. Very good. All right, item D, the Verizon Cable Franchise Renewal Services.
So our current Verizon cable franchise agreement expires between 2025 and 2026. So currently, we're working through expiring. You know, we have the same type of agreement with Comcast. Montgomery County Consortium of Communities, again, is offering, if municipalities join, to engage Cohen Law Group in this negotiation. And this is their pricing. So currently, we're less than 10,000. And we want the franchise-free renewal negotiations. If we want the audit, it would cost roughly over $8,000. Sometimes the consortium will put in, and that's if you have 20 plus members that are interested in renewing. Sometimes the consortium will put a little bit of, money towards that. In the past, they've given, maybe $5,000 per community, things like that. That happened with our Comcast agreement. I didn't see anything like that. They were just offering to, engage with Cohen. You would have, this agreement at this discounted price. If you go on your own and negotiate, obviously you pay your own lawyer fees, your own solicitor fees. Those things are not covered as part of this. Sorry, Timothy Knox. But it's just something that's offered in the past. For Verizon, we've done it since I've worked here in Comcast twice. We've always just jumped in on the consortium because they handle it. We don't have to really do anything. Verizon and or Comcast comes in, they meet with you. And it's really all handled by Cohen Law Group. So it's something that the borough has to manage, but they negotiate on our behalf. To be upfront and honest, not really so sure how much longer we will be having Comcast and Verizon, franchise, agreements. Just cable TV is really becoming a thing of the past. As you can see, the numbers when we are in our budget, the numbers are going down significantly. of our income that we're getting from those agreements. So, this might be one of the last few times that we have the opportunity to lock in a franchise agreement with, a communications provider. Not saying that that's gonna happen, it just, if you kind of look at what we've been getting over the last, it's gone down in the last 10 years. So it's just something you want to read through, the proposal and the agreement. It's just to engage with, Cohen Law Group. And if that's something that, and it's outlined, if it's something that you're interested in, like we've done in the past, they're just asking for us to let them know by an action council.
When do we have to let them know by?
So there was no specific timeline. I told, Dan from Cohen Law Group that it's just something that we'll be talking about.
Okay.
That is something that we'll be looking into. And we'll make a decision sometime at the beginning of the year. You know, I'd say like first quarter, beginning of the year. But, sooner rather than later, I think, is they want to try, you know, sometimes they end up with 18 municipalities and not 20 that want to participate. So instead of you getting that, you know, 10%, they're like, oh, you're close enough, we'll still give you the 10%. But if you're only at 5 that want to participate, then they try to let us know sooner rather than later, because then we're kind of on around.
Okay.
And it's something we have to negotiate.
I think it might be a good idea to just table this for now then and review it, say, in February further and see where we
Do we
go
have
from
any
there.
questions?
Yeah, we'll just continue to be on as an all business discussion item, and if you have, like, I would say, review the agreement from Cohen, it's very similar, like the proposal, it's very similar to the Comcast one that we participated in a few years ago. It talks like about the benefits, the services that they'll be providing, you know, the audit and how they get their cost of services. I can also reach out to the consortium and or Cohen Law Group to see how many people have jumped on board. You know, if we're only at 8, and, you know, we gotta get to 20, you know, it might not be realistic that we're ever gonna get there, and then it kind of be like, maybe we should start to talk about doing something on our own. But hey, if they're at 19 and they need, you know, us, or hey, if they had 11 to 19, then you get more, like, you get more people that participate, bigger discount you get.
Does this also include the fee, the income from the pole fees for using our utility poles for the cables?
Yeah, the last time that we negotiated with Comcast, we included that as part of the agreement. So when we included that with Comcast, it was part of the agreement that it was X amount of dollars per pole, and they gave us that all up front for the contract of, if our contract was 10 years, they paid all of that X amount of dollars, because we negotiated that in conjunction with this. So, land sale does something similar because they have electric poles. So it's just other municipalities that have, you know, poles that they own in their municipality, if you let them hang attachments on your pole.
If you're talking to the township folks, because I see they're in the next phase,
Yeah,
just kind of see if they're talking about it yet and if they're thinking about jumping in or leaving. Just to get a pulse.
yeah, and I know there's only 17 listed, but that was the number that like they had confirmed. And they said there were a lot of those municipalities in Montgomery County that they didn't know. They were like, these are the only ones that we can like look at. And it was like, oh, these were ones were unknown. So those 14 that are unknown could jump onto ours.
Sure.
I'm not sure.
Sounds like they're in the early stages of just putting this together then.
Yeah, they just kind of want to know, are you in or are you out? Because I think they want to know the discount that everybody's gonna get, kind of thing.
See North Wales up there, maybe Kate will have an idea of what they're doing. Just to, like I said, get the pulse of the others, because you're right about cable. I mean, I don't have cable, you know?
I think we
We'll
always
use other streaming.
estimate, it's like, gets us $20,000 a year.
Is that what it gets us?
Around there.
Okay.
Is it a make or break for the borough? No, but then you don't have any like regulations, and especially just because we own our poles, you know, those are things that you can kind of get a little bit from Comcast.
Yeah.
You know, what the pole agreement was.
Sure.
So we got a good significant portion up front from Comcast for their use of our poles, and that was part of it.
20,000 isn't a lot, but then if you lose that, you gotta find it somewhere else. So,
Correct, yeah. And I know it's kind of been going down,
Yeah.
and, you know, then that way you get to negotiate, if you know, you want a TV channel with Verizon. I mean, nobody really watches the TV anymore because, yeah, yeah. So like, yeah, those are things that if you care about having a peg channel, those are things you negotiate. It's
I do like
that type of information. But I will certainly ask, have they heard from anybody yet? Like, what's the pulse on it? And I'll ask those surrounding us. I wrote a note. Those surrounding us, like, what are they doing? Even if, I think North Wales was unknown,
Yeah,
but Hatfield Township was 28-29.
Yeah.
And I'll just ask Aaron, like, hey, you guys even talked about this yet?
like you said, if it turns out to be a small amount and we know that the others are going,
Yeah, it's not,
then we know where we
yeah,
stand.
right. It's, I don't know that it's worth it for us to join if we're by ourselves, when you have to look at the cost of what it would be to even engage them. Is it cheaper to engage our solicitor?
Yeah.
You know, I think you have to think about those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's like 10, it ends up being, you know, what they would give you discounted. If only one joined, you pay 10,000, you
Okay,
know.
Yeah.
And that's if you're doing like combined for, you know, you'll get the discount, because you get a discount if you do the both projects, like, fees for the franchise fee audit and fees for the franchise renewal negotiations. So the franchise fee audit, that's where they audit what we've currently got in over the last several years of this agreement. Were we underpaid? Did we not get fees that we were supposed to get? Like, they kind of go back and look at all that. It's an audit of all of our stuff. And they could kind of say, oh, you should have been getting X, Y, and Z when you negotiated in 2012. That was part of it, but it was in small print. You couldn't get, you know, those type of things. So that's kind of included in that with like that discount. But you lose the, you know, single project discount. It's nice. You gotta have the municipalities with you.
Yeah.
It might not be perfect. We might not have it. I will certainly find out where they are today. This came out in December, so I think they gotta know in January. Maybe some people are buying into it, you know.
Okay.
I'll report that number back that I know next week. Next meeting, I'm sorry.
Madam Manager, if I can also ask, can you highlight the differences in this agreement versus the previous agreement that we already approved?
Yes, the one, I'll do Comcast and Verizon, because the most recent one we did was we engaged them for Comcast. But when I first started working here, we also engaged them for our Verizon agreement. So I will do both, Verizon and Comcast.
Thank you.
And the cost, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's be interesting to see that.
Yes, because the consortium used to give you, I think it was roughly $5,000, like, as a, hey, we'll pay 3,000 or 5,000 for every municipality that joins in. I did not see that as part of it. I don't know if you remember that they would also contribute something.
Yeah.
I just see a discount for more municipalities.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yes, I will do that.
All right. We have nothing else at this point. Any other questions, comments? All right, do we have a motion for adjournment, and do we have an executive session this evening?
Yeah, if you need to talk about, real estate
Okay,
and litigation, sorry.
all right. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
motion. Second.
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor?
All right.
All right.
Aye, okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.